Hi, I'm Noel. This is Antonio from Boxtail Soup Theatre Company, and we're back with another vlog in extreme high winds. So forgive us if there's any
Yeah, we're hoping our studio doesn't blow away.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does sound like it's going to at various points. We thought today that we would talk to you a bit more about the large puppets that we made, because while we were making them we had to be a little bit cagey about the whole thing. We weren't allowed to reveal necessarily exactly what they were going to be like, so we couldn't really show you the full design process and the making process as much as we would like to. So we thought we would go from drawing to final thing today in the vlog. We have some good rehearsal footage of the puppets, where actually it's kind of easier in a way to see them clearly because we were filming them for our own purposes in a blank room, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I mean, as I said in the description last time, we're hoping that we will get some footage from the Expo, from the official photographers and stuff, because obviously all of the stuff we had to show you in the vlog last week is kind of from smartphones and stuff like that. Some of which looks great,
yeah.
But it'd be nice to have stuff that's captured with proper cameras and all that. So it might be that, in some of the rehearsal footage you can see the puppets a little bit clearer. The other thing is, because we weren't allowed to talk too much about the creation of it at the time until it was all announced, we also couldn't really explain why they are the characters that they are and why they look like a lion and a unicorn, and the kind of the process that we went through to come up with those characters.
So the basic principle of the whole thing was that we were approached by an events company who were working to put on UK National Day at the UK Pavilion at Dubai Expo, and they asked us if we would be interested in creating 2 bespoke puppets for the event. They weren't entirely sure exactly what they wanted. They wanted something that would represent the UK in some way. Originally they were going to be doing a big parade that they were going to be part of, and then that changed and they were then going to be the sort of feature outside the pavilion at various points in the day, which made it slightly easier for us because it meant that, well, not easier, it just made it different. It meant that they didn't have to walk quite so far. Obviously if they'd have been parading we would have had to made something a little bit different potentially. And they were very open to our suggestions of what we would like to do.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest challenge for us, was that, well, in the beginning at least, was that they had seen our work, so we knew that they had a sense of the kind of thing that we made.
And our style.
Yeah, exactly. So they were obviously expecting something in that kind of area, but other than that, they really weren't too specific about exactly what they were after.
Which on the one hand is lovely, but also does mean that you have this sort of open book of free reign to basically kind of do whatever you want, within reason. Their theme for the day was Celebrate Extraordinary, and
which again is a very open, very broad theme.
And then we really wanted to make sure that we tried our best to incorporate into the design all nations of the UK, so that we had England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all represented in some way, and that it wasn't too England-centric.
Yeah.
So that was one of our main, that was a criteria we put on ourselves, but they were obviously when we said that to them, they were like, yeah, that would be great. So we went around the houses a little bit first. We started with some ideas of having, we thought we could make sort of humanoid type figures out of famous landmarks in the UK and famous, so for example we had an idea at one point where we were thinking we could do an element of William Shakespeare's ruff combined with John Lennon's sunglasses, and bits of then other, you'd have like the Shard would form a shoulder piece or whatever.
Yeah, or you might have Stonehenge or Ben Nevis or some bits of either natural or man-made landmarks,
and probably split the two between ancient and modern, or science and science and art, or whatever. So we did a few sketch-ups of that kind of thing, none of which we really liked. We found that they basically, it looked a bit like a collage, I think, didn't they?
Yes, it was difficult to get some sense of cohesion and
personality. It was difficult to get a real, true character out of.
Yes, so it didn't look like a patchwork of just different little things have been thrown in there, just because they happen to be part of the UK or part of the country.
So then in one of our kind of early SketchUp sessions, you just started drawing a lion and a unicorn roughly, didn't you? Sort of.
Well, I think at that point we'd been through a lot of different ideas for what could represent, given that we wanted 2 of these puppets, and given that we knew we wanted to be inclusive, both in terms of the 4 nations and also the various cultures that kind of that make up the UK. We had been through a few different ideas of what possibly could represent all of that. And so we started looking at heraldry, and we started looking at traditional images that have been used on coats of arms and flags and things like that to represent those countries through the years. And obviously one of the motifs that comes up all the time is the lion and the unicorn. I guess they are more strongly associated with England in some ways.
Because of the monarchy, really, isn't it? More than anything else. Obviously, they're the royal standard. You get that mark on ketchup, for example, because it's by appointment of the Queen. So you get the lion and the unicorn heraldry.
It's curious once you start to look into the history of it. There are connections to lions being used in heraldry for all of the countries, and unicorn goes into a few different places. But what we decided in the end was that we would try and draw something up based on that. So I just started trying to draw something that was inspired by those 2, the lion and the unicorn, but there was also a kind of humanoid character, because I think we decided by that stage that they were going to be
worn.
Yes. We went back and forth we decided that we wanted them to be big puppets.
Yes, we wanted them to stand at least 2.5 meters high. So we wanted them to be the performers would be on stilts, so we knew that much.
Because at some points we had discussed whether they would be sort of mounted in front of the
and that was especially was when it was going to be for a parade, potentially, where stilt walking, given that we couldn't guarantee the ground would be flat, would be a bit more tricky.
So we came up with these 2 initial sketches, and there was something about it that we liked. There was something about it that they started to have a little bit of character, and there was something kind of intriguing and kind of ancient about them as well, which we quite liked, because it kind of hinted at the history and the mythology of the country as well, rather than just picking out landmarks and scientific achievements.
Yes, because I think one of the things that sets the UK apart in that sense, as well as obviously the countries in Europe and things, but is the fact that there is such deep history and a huge amount of mythology, and so we really wanted to bring that sense of the ancient into the characters. We wanted, in order to try and bring all countries together, we wanted to add elements to the lion and the unicorn. So we added a dragon-like element to the unicorn in order to try and represent Wales a bit more. And then we added the stag antlers to the lion, which in fact I think comes up in both Scotland and Northern Ireland, the stag. So that helped to just kind of, and also it gave them more of this sort of fantastical, mythological, because they were a lion, but a lion with antlers is unusual to look at. It also gave it more height and width, which was helpful, because obviously the other thing we were fighting against was the fact that they had to pack down small enough that we could get them onto a trunk that would go on the plane.
Yes, which was a whole other challenge.
Yeah, so that meant sort of things that we could add to create height that wouldn't have to be permanently affixed to each item, each puppet.
Yeah.
And so that's what we then had. We had our lion and our unicorn.
Yeah.
So our lion come stag, unicorn come dragon.
And then from those initial drawings, we developed them to the drawings that we ended up working from, which we can put up and show you, and we'll show you a comparison between those and the final puppets as well, because it was nice to see in the end how close we'd come to realising that drawing. I think we had a few moments where we were a little bit concerned it would just look like armour.
Yes, I think I was concerned they were going to be a bit too robotic looking at one point.
It has elements of that still, because it's very difficult to
but
avoid it.
In a good way. It went to the kind of acceptable in our terms side of that, where they were ancient, robot-y, sort of. So they had that sense of armour in a good way, I think.
And then we, going with that kind of the seeds of that initial idea about they're celebrating the kind of the artistic and the cultural and the scientific achievements of UK citizens. We then split them so that the lion puppet would cover kind of arts and culture and music, and the unicorn would be science and industry and technology. And quite painstakingly then, on the lion, for example, you'll see on the shoulders, on the pauldrons, there are a lot of little books. Each one of those.
Well, yeah,
books,
you've missed a step, in fact, because we had the drawing of your lion and unicorn dragon, and then you effectively then got passed on to me when it was then the time to work out how to put the science and industry and the arts. Although we decided that's how they were going to go on them, we then had to work out how they were going to go on them, and which was tricky because it was the sense again of not wanting it to look like a collage. So we went for symbolism rather than literal things. Although the one exception to that possibly is the other books that are on the pauldrons of the lion, because they are little individual books. But otherwise we had, so on the unicorn we have cogs and wheels to represent that kind of industrial sense.
Yeah.
And then the artistic one, you have a quill and a paintbrush and a stave down the back and books on the shoulders.
And on the unicorn you've also got those lovely kind of
Oh yes.
wooden shields on the arms. And all of those things have got names of various UK citizens who in their respective category have achieved something remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you were saying though before then, so painstakingly on the pauldrons and everything are little books. And then on the quill are little feathers. On those arms it's more kind of cut to look like wood, isn't it? And then on the cogs and wheels we've used the connecting pieces. I don't know what they're called. The pieces that connect
Struts,
two cogs together. There are names on all of those as well.
And then, you know, in terms of the design side of it, that was we were very happy with all of that. And then obviously the other side of that challenge was actually making it and figuring out how to make it, how to put it together, how to make it pack down small enough. As we touched on before, it's all made out of recycled material. So it's made out of cardboard and bits of blind that fell down in the studio, and we decided to use bits of that blind, bits of foam board that we were given that was damaged stock, so otherwise would have been discarded and thrown into landfill. And that was also a really nice element to it, was that, you know, we were able to create these things basically entirely out of recycled material. We also had to figure out the mechanics of putting the things together as well. We'd never built anything that size before. We'd certainly never built anything to be worn in that way before either. We wanted it to be light. We wanted it to have a nice range of movement, and we also wanted it to be reasonably comfortable for someone to wear, because if they were going to have to be in there for any length of time, then you don't want them to be in agony the whole time.
No, I mean the lightness of it I think very much helped with that, didn't it? I mean, you having worn costumes in the past that were much heavier.
Yes.
I think that's the thing that sort of tires the performer out more than anything.
Absolutely.
They also need to be balanced though in that sense. And there was a lot of tweaking, wasn't there, to do, once they're sort of minutiae of different performers wearing them, where, when we'd fitted it to you, you then put it on another performer, and there's tweaks to be made because obviously everybody's slightly different, their posture is different.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see how, a couple of inches difference in terms of where you had the harness sitting on one person to another could translate into a massive difference that meant the whole thing
would tilt
really
forward or
together.
tilt back, or yeah,
and then there was the complication of working out how, just the mechanics of how the arm works and how you can get that to sit on the shoulders and all those kind of things. So it was a real learning experience, but I think it's fair to say that we were absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, really pleased with
up
them. Really pleased with them. So I think probably the best thing for us to do now is to show you some of the rehearsal footage so you can see them in a little bit more detail. We'll also put up the drawings. Noel might have done that already when he was editing this vlog.
We'll see.
I don't know. But you'll be able to see the sketches compared to because I do think that's an interesting thing when I just did it for us to have a look at, putting the final sketch with all the colours and everything in it next to the picture of the two, and we were really pleased with how similar they are, how we did actually manage to realise what we'd drawn. So we'll let you have a look at that.
As ever, if there's anything we've not touched on or any kind of aspect of making them that you particularly want to know more about, do feel free to leave us a comment or send us a message, and we'll do our best to answer that and cover it if we can. If you've enjoyed watching the video, give us a thumbs up. If you've been watching a few of them, then possibly even subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
I don't know when. Lovely. And feel free to do some more just standing still up movements.